Colleen Brunetti wrote a blog post about potty training. In it, she said that conventional westernized baby rearing wisdom states that the best time to potty train is sometime after 18 months, the time at which a child can begin to control their bladder and bowel function and respond to parent-led training. For instance, according to the Mayo Clinic, potty training should begin when children can communicate things like a desire to go and an interest in the potty, and remain dry for a period of time. Further on in this post, she points out that this trend didn't begin until the 1950s, and it was recommended by a pediatrician who was being paid for his recommendations. As a result, many people now feel that pull-ups are necessary to the potty training endeavor. I want to share some of my experience after helping to potty train about 20 to 30 children over a 5-year span. The idea behind pull-ups is that it's a tool to encourage children to begin using the potty on their own. They are fashioned with the idea that children can practice pulling them up on their own, and some brands are formulated to try to help children recognize it when they are wet. Most brands make a variety of designs to suit the interest of each toddler. They were created out of the belief that potty training should begin when a child is old enough to control their pottying needs. Many parents feel it is best to wait until their child shows an interest in potty training. Pull-ups and diapers appear to be made out of similar materials. In both cases, they are made to be absorbent enough to contain their contents. In the last few years, there have been many attempts to make pull-ups more potty training friendly by making it so that the child wearing it can feel when it's wet. Pull-ups are also designed so that they can be pulled up and down. Diapers are not. As I said, pull-ups are designed to be pulled up. However, they are pretty stiff and unforgiving. Underwear, on the other hand, is much easier to manipulate into the position required. For instance, think of a piece of furniture, like a coffee table or something like that. Imagine trying to push that across the floor into another position. Now, pretend that something is in the way of the piece of furniture. Maybe there's another piece of furniture sitting there, or somebody's left a shoe out. What happens with with trying to move the furniture? Does it get harder? Does the furniture stop moving? Can it continue to move in the same way it was before that object was in the way? Now picture moving water. How does it move? Is it much easier to move than the furniture? Is it harder to move than the furniture? What if an object gets in its way? Does it move in the same way the furniture does? Does it stop like the furniture would? Does it keep going? That is how pull-ups, and that's the difference between pull-ups and underwear for children. Pull-ups are much harder, like the furniture was, to pull up, whereas underwear moves more like water would for them. Because of their development, where they are developmentally, pull-ups are much harder for them to manipulate into the position they need them. I wanted to share with you a couple of experiences I've had with potty training children. One, when I met this little boy, he was almost 3 years old, and he had been wearing pull-ups for quite a while. He had the ability to use the potty. He was very good at that when he would go. But he really didn't have any motivation to go because he was wearing pull-ups. In his mind, pull-ups were pretty much the same as diapers. So in his mind, it didn't matter that he was wearing a pull-up, he could still go in the pull-up. And he really wasn't getting any encouragement to go on the potty from mom. It was, he's in a pull-up, I can change the pull-up, no problem. When she finally found the motivation to actually focus on potty training him, it was a lot easier to get him to start using the potty, but it did take a lot longer than most of the other children. once we switched him to underwear, it took a while for him to realize that this was different than the pull-up and the diaper, and that he wasn't just going to be changed by everyone else if he was wet or whatever. Um, and so what really did it for him was realizing that in the underwear, his choices were to either go use the potty or sit there and try and figure out how to get himself dressed, because at that point we decided he was old enough and capable enough that he could dress himself and change himself if he were to have an accident. And with him, it was a lot more difficult to potty train him than most of the other children I helped potty train. Um, Next was about another little boy, and when I met him, he was a little bit younger than the first one, and he um, had some language barrier issues. His family was originally from the Middle East, and he didn't speak very much English. He didn't understand very much English, but he became very attached to me and had never even attempted to use the potty. And I started working with him. My goal every time it was time for a change was he was going to at least sit on the potty. If he didn't do anything at first, that was fine. And we did that for a little while. And then I finally decided it was time for him to actually go. And so I had him stay in there for longer periods. And eventually he did actually go in the potty. After that, I did my little happy dance around the room to show him how happy I was that he had done that. With him, we went straight from diapers to underwear. And after my happy dance of him having gone that one time, he had one accident in the next 3 months before he moved up to the older class. And that was, of course, just because he had a little bit of a distraction playing with friends. But it was definitely a difference. Um, it was much easier having not even used the pull-ups in that instance. And the pull-ups actually, his parents did decide to use pull-ups only for nap times and bedtime and things like that. But still, it was a lot easier working with him. Um, the last story I'd like to share, it's from a friend of mine who I've known since we were teenagers, and her mother told me and my mom this story one time where apparently when she was a baby, she had severe napkin psoriasis to the point where as soon as she would soil her diaper, she would have a rash, severe enough that it would bleed. And by the time she was 9 months old, she had potty trained herself. Her mom didn't force it on her. Her mom didn't push her towards it. She just realized what the potty was for and decided she was just going to go in the potty rather than in her diaper. That way she did not have to deal with the rashes. So it's all about, with children, the pull-ups really don't do anything to help them. It's more a convenience for mom and dad. It's more to help mom and dad feel like they're going towards the potty training when really it's not any different than having them in a diaper. And they also are kind of a fine motor nightmare for many children just because it is very difficult for them to manipulate them.